Dr. Kim Hannah rubbed her tired eyes and looked at the computer screen again. She had been working at the Seoul Deep Space Observatory for 12 hours straight, trying to understand a strange signal from outer space.
For 3 months now, this
Mysterious message kept repeating itself, coming from somewhere far beyond Earth's solar system. Hannah was the best language expert they had for alien communications. She had studied dozens of signals before, but most turned out to be just natural. Sounds from stars or planets. This one felt different. The pattern was too organized. It's too careful to be random noise from space. Her team was small, but skilled. Dr. Park Min-ho helped her understand the language parts, while Lee Ju-won worked on the computer systems that picked up the signals. They had been working together for years, but nothing had prepared them for what they were about to discover. The signal came from a place so far away that light took 300 years to travel from there to Earth. Every day, the same message repeated itself over and over, like someone calling for help in the darkness. Hannah knew that if this was really from intelligent aliens, it would change everything humanity knew about the universe. She remembered the first day it detected the signal. The computer started beeping loudly in the middle of the night, waking up the night shift workers. At first, everyone thought it was just equipment problems. But when they checked, they found something incredible, a signal that was clearly artificial, clearly made by thinking beings. For weeks, Hannah and her team worked day and night. They tried every language program they had. They studied the mathematical patterns. They looked for any clue that might help them understand what the aliens were trying to say. The signal was complex, but somehow felt desperate. Park Min-ho was the first to notice something important. "Hannah, look at this part," he said one evening, pointing at his screen. "This section repeats exactly every 12 hours. It's like they're trying to make sure we notice it." Lee Ju-won had been tracking the signal's source. "It's coming from a star system called Veltar," she explained. "Our telescopes showed that the star there is acting strangely. It looks like it might be dying much faster than it should." Finally, after months of hard work, their translation program started making sense of the alien words. Hannah watched as English text appeared on her screen, replacing the strange alien symbols. Her heart began beating faster as she read the first complete sentence. "To anyone who receives this transmission across the void," the message began. Hannah called her teammates over quickly. They all stood behind her chair, reading over her shoulder as more text appeared. "We are the Keth Mori of the third world of Veltar. Our star dies ahead of all predictions. Our evacuation fleets have failed. We number fewer than 5 million souls remaining on orbital stations around our dying sun." The room became very quiet. "Park." Min-ho put his hand on Hannah's shoulder. Lee Ju-won stepped back, covering her mouth in shock. They were reading the last words of an entire alien civilization. The message continued, "If you receive this, please know that we existed. Please remember us when we are gone. We broadcast these coordinates in hope, though hope fades with each passing cycle." Hannah's hands started shaking as she saved the translation to her computer. These aliens weren't trying to invade Earth or asking for trade agreements. They weren't threatening anyone or demanding anything. They were simply asking to be remembered. They wanted someone somewhere in the universe to know that they had once been alive. She checked the timestamp on the signal. It had been broadcasting for over 10 years already. Every day for a decade, these dying aliens had been sending their message into space, hoping someone would hear them and remember their existence. The weight of the discovery hit all three team members at once. They had just become the only humans who knew that an entire species was facing extinction 300 light-years away. 5 million intelligent beings were trapped around a dying star, and there was nothing anyone could do to help them. Or was there? Hannah immediately called Director Cho Soon-woo, even though it was 3 in the morning. "Sir, you need to come to the observatory right now," she said. "We've decoded the alien signal. It's not what we expected." Within an hour, Director Cho was reading the translated message. His face grew pale as he understood what it meant. "Are you absolutely certain this is accurate?" he asked. "We've checked it dozens of times," Park Min-ho replied. "The translation is correct. These aliens are asking for help, but they're so far away that they don't expect anyone to actually help them. Just want to be remembered." Director Cho sat down heavily. In a nearby chair, he knew that this discovery would have to be reported to the Global Space Council immediately. Within days, every government on Earth would know that humanity had received its first real message from another intelligent species. But it wasn't a message of greeting or friendship. It was a goodbye letter from a dying civilization broadcast into the void in the hope that someone, somewhere, would remember that the Kethmori had once existed among the stars. The news about the dying aliens spread across Earth like wildfire. Within a week, every person on the planet knew about the Kethmori and their desperate message from 300 light-years away. What started as a scientific discovery quickly became the biggest moral question humanity had ever faced. President Yoon Sora sat in her office in Seoul, looking at reports from around the world. Protests were happening in every major city. Some people carried signs saying "Save the aliens," while others held banners reading "Earth First." The planet was divided, and she was right in the middle of it all because Korean scientists had found the signal first. The Global Council called emergency meetings that lasted for days. World leaders flew to Geneva, New York, and Beijing to discuss what humanity should do. Dr. Kim Hannah found herself suddenly famous, appearing on television shows and speaking to presidents and prime ministers about what the alien message really meant. The signal is much more complex than we first thought, Hannah explained to a room full of the most powerful people on Earth. Hidden in their distress call are detailed scientific records. The Kethmori were incredibly advanced. They developed biotechnology that could grow buildings from living materials. Their energy systems could power entire cities using only plant matter. Defense Minister Rodriguez from Spain stood up, his face red with frustration. Dr. Kim, with respect, none of that matters if we can't actually reach them. The distance is impossible. 300 light-years means our fastest ships would take over 2 centuries to get there. By the time we arrive, they'll have been dead for 100 years. Admiral Nam Kyung-ho, who commanded all of Earth's spaceships, had been quietly studying the numbers for weeks. He finally spoke up, his voice serious and tired. If we decide to attempt this rescue, we would need to use every generation ship we have. All 47 vessels. We would have to install new experimental sleep systems that have never been tested for such long journeys. Crews would go to sleep and not wake up for more than 200 years. The room fell silent. Everyone understood what this meant. Earth had spent decades building those ships for humanity's own expansion into space. Using them all for a rescue mission would mean giving up human colonization plans for generations. President Yoon Sora asked the question everyone was thinking. Admiral, what are the chances of success? Nam looked down at his papers before answering. Honestly, President, we don't know. The technology exists, but it's never been used for such a long journey. We could lose ships along the way. The crews might not survive the extended sleep. And even if everything works perfectly, we might arrive to find empty space stations around. A dead star. The debates went on for months. Every day brought new arguments from scientists, politicians, religious leaders, and ordinary citizens. Dr. Park Min-ho appeared on news shows, explaining how the alien technology could solve Earth's energy problems. Lee Gu-won gave interviews about the moral responsibility of advanced civilizations to help each other. In Tokyo, thousands of people marched through the streets carrying pictures of what they imagined the Kethmori looked like, demanding that Earth send help. In London, equally large crowds protested outside government buildings, arguing that Earth's money should be spent on fixing poverty and climate change, not on impossible rescue missions. The economic arguments were just as heated as the moral ones. Building and modifying 47 starships would cost more than most countries spent in an entire year. Critics pointed out that the same money could build hospitals, schools, clean energy systems that would help millions of people on Earth. Religious leaders were divided too. Some said that helping the dying aliens was humanity's sacred duty, that God or the universe had sent this signal to test human compassion. Others argued that humans should focus on taking care of their own planet and people first. Scientists ran computer simulations and held conferences trying to figure out if the mission was even possible. Engineers worked day and night designing new sleep systems and ship modifications. Doctors studied whether human bodies could survive being frozen for over 2 centuries. Public opinion polls changed almost daily. One week, 60% of people supported the rescue mission. The next week, only 40% did. Politicians worried about their careers, while philosophers debated whether humanity had a moral obligation to strangers they had never met. The final vote took place on a cold winter morning in Geneva. Representatives from every nation on Earth cast their ballots in secret. President Yunsora watched the counting with her heart pounding. This decision would define humanity's place in the universe for generations to come. When the results were announced, the room was completely quiet. By just 12 votes, the Global Council had decided to attempt the impossible rescue mission. President Yunsora stood up slowly, knowing that her next words would be remembered forever. She walked to the podium and looked directly into the cameras that would broadcast her announcement to the entire world. Today, humanity has made a choice that will echo across the stars, she began, her voice steady despite the enormous weight of the moment. We have decided to go, not because it is practical or easy or safe, not because we expect anything in return. We go because when someone whispers for salvation across the void, humanity answers. We go because that is who we choose to be. That moment the Global Council voted to save the Kethmori, Earth's orbital shipyards became the busiest places in human history. Admiral Nam Kung Ho had never seen anything like it. Thousands of workers floated through space in protective suits, welding new parts onto ships and installing equipment that had never been tested before. Every day for 18 months, Nam watched the transformation. Military battleships were stripped of their weapons and filled with sleeping chambers. Cargo ships that normally carried supplies between planets were redesigned to carry thousands of frozen humans across the galaxy. Even luxury passenger ships were converted into rescue vessels. The biggest challenge was creating sleeping systems that could keep people alive for over 200 years. Chief Engineer Oji-hoon had designed many generation ships before, but none for such an impossibly long journey. We're basically asking people to die and come back to life centuries later, he told Nam during one of their planning meetings. The technology exists, but we've never tested it for this long. Dr. Kim Hannah barely slept during those months. She worked with her old teammate Park Min-ho to create communication systems that could work between humans and aliens who had never met. They had to guess what the Kethmori might be like, how they might think, and what they might need to hear when the human ships finally arrived. We don't even know if they'll still be alive when we get there, Park Min-ho said one evening as they tested their translation programs. But we have to be ready to talk to them immediately. First impressions between species only happen once. The lead ship was called the Kesenshin, named after the Korean city where President Yunsora was born. It was the largest and most advanced vessel in the fleet, equipped with an artificial intelligence system more powerful than anything humanity had ever built. This computer would have to keep the ships flying straight for centuries, make course corrections, and wake up the right people at the right times. Engineer Oji-hoon spent months programming the AI. It has to be smart enough to handle problems we can't even imagine, he explained to Nam. What if one ship breaks down halfway through the journey? What if we encounter something unexpected in deep space? The AI will be making life or death decisions while we're all frozen. Volunteers came from every country on Earth. The journey would take longer than any human lifetime, so everyone who went would never see Earth again. They would sleep for centuries and wake up in an alien star system, assuming they woke up at all. Despite the risks, over 1 million people applied for the 47,000 spots available. Launch day finally arrived on a beautiful autumn morning. Nam stood on the bridge of the Incheon, looking down at Earth through the massive windows. The planet looked so peaceful from space, blue and white and perfect. It was hard to believe that 8 billion people down there were watching and waiting to see humanity's greatest gamble would succeed. The 47 ships spread out in formation around Earth's orbit. Each one had been painted with symbols representing different countries and cultures, showing that this was truly a mission from all of humanity. The ships were enormous, some over 1 kilometer long, their hulls gleaming with new modifications, and their cargo holds packed with everything the rescuers might need. Communications Officer Bae Young-mi checked her instruments one final time. "Ship's report ready for departure, Admiral," she announced. Her voice was steady, but Nam could see the emotion in her eyes. Like everyone else, she knew they were about to attempt something that had never been done before. Nam walked to the communication station and opened a channel toward the Kethmori star system. He knew his words would take 300 years to travel through space. By the time any surviving aliens heard this message, the human rescue fleet would already be arriving at their dying star. "To the Kethmori people," Nam said slowly and clearly, "this is Admiral Nem Kung Ho of the Human Rescue Fleet. We received your call across the darkness. Know you are dying. We know you are afraid. We know you have given up hope. But you are not alone anymore. Hold on. We are coming." He closed the channel and turned to his crew. Many of them were crying, understanding the weight of this moment. They were about to begin a journey that would outlast their own lives, traveling farther from home than any human had ever gone. "All ships, prepare for engine ignition," Nam announced over the fleet communication system. Across all 47 vessels, crews made their final preparations. Soon they would all go into the deep sleep that would carry them across centuries. The engines fired simultaneously, creating flashes of light brighter than nearby stars. The ships began to accelerate, slowly at first, then faster and faster, as they built up speed for their incredible journey. Earth's gravity released its hold on them as they climbed away from everything they had ever known. Through the bridge windows, Nam watched Earth shrink from a world to a dot, to just another star in the sky. Behind them, 8 billion humans were praying, hoping, and believing that their representatives would succeed in the greatest rescue mission ever attempted. The ships disappeared into the darkness between stars, carrying humanity's promise to strangers they had never met. Crossing an ocean of space and time to answer a whisper for salvation, Admiral Nam Kun Ho opened his eyes. For the first time in over 2 centuries, the sleep chamber hissed as it opened, and cold air rushed across his face. He was old now, much older than when he had gone to sleep near Earth. His hair was completely white, his hands shook as he pulled himself upright, but his mind was clear, and he remembered exactly why he was here. The ship's artificial intelligence had woken him, because they were finally arriving at the Veltar system. Humanity's rescue fleet was about to see if their impossible mission had any chance of success. Nam slowly made his way to the bridge of the Kesenchin. His legs felt weak after so many years of sleep, but determination kept him moving. Through the large windows, he could see the other 46 ships still flying in formation. They had all made it. Every single vessel had survived the long journey across the galaxy. But what he saw when he looked at the Veltar system made his heart sink. The star was dying in the most violent way possible. Instead of the normal yellow sun he had expected, there was a bloated red monster that kept shooting massive flames into space. The star's surface twisted and writhed like it was in pain, sending deadly radiation in all directions. "My God," Nam whispered, staring at the cosmic disaster before them. This star wasn't just dying slowly, it was tearing itself apart. Dr. Kim. She was the great-granddaughter of Dr. Kim Hannah, the woman who had first decoded the Kethmori message centuries ago. Like her ancestor, Suyang was a language expert, but she had inherited much more than just knowledge. She carried the hopes of her entire family line. "Admiral, the long-range sensors are picking up something," she reported, checking the computer displays. "There are still structures around the star, but most of them are gone." The ship's AI spoke in its calm, emotionless voice, scanning complete. 3 orbital stations remain functional. All others have been destroyed by stellar radiation. Life signs detected on remaining stations, approximately 800,000 individuals. Nam felt his stomach drop. The Kethmori had started with 5 million survivors when they first sent their distress call. Now only 800,000 remained. They had arrived just in time, or perhaps too late. As the human fleet moved closer to the 3 remaining alien stations, something unexpected happened. Their lights disappeared, their energy readings dropped to almost nothing, and they stopped all radio communications. "What's happening?" Nam asked. "Are they dying?" Dr. Suyang studied the sensor. Readings and suddenly understood. "Admiral, they're afraid of us. Let's look at our fleet from their perspective. 47 enormous ships, all painted in military colors, all armed with weapons from our old military vessels. To them, we must look like an invasion force." Nam realized she was right. The Kethmori had been alone and desperate for so long that they couldn't believe anyone would actually come to help them. When they saw 47 warships approaching their dying system, they naturally assumed the worst. "Open a communication channel," Nam ordered. "Use all the translation protocols Dr. Kim Hanna developed. We need to let them know who we are." For several hours, Nam and Suyang tried to contact the hidden aliens. They sent mathematical equations, pictures, and simple messages, but got no response. The Kethmori stations remained dark and silent, like frightened animals hiding from predators. Finally, a weak signal came through the communication system. Dr. Suyang worked frantically with her computers to translate the alien language. No one crosses the void for strangers. No one travels between stars to help people they have never met. What do you want? From us? What do you demand in payment? The aliens couldn't believe that anyone would come so far just to help them. They were convinced the humans wanted something in return, some payment or conquest or advantage. Admiral Nam took the communication device and spoke slowly and clearly, knowing that his words might be the most important ever spoken between two different species. "To the Kethmori people, this is Admiral Nam Kyung Ho of the Human Rescue Fleet. We traveled from a star system called Sol. We received your distress signal 237 years ago. We came here for one reason only, to take you home. All of you. We want nothing from you, except the chance to help." It was a long silence. The dying star continued to throw flames into space while 47 human ships waited for an answer. From 3 small alien stations, finally a new message came through. This time the translation software showed not just words, but emotional indicators that Dr. Suyang's great-grandmother had built into the system centuries ago. Double quotes. You. Came the message read, and the emotional readings showed overwhelming shock and gratitude. After all this time, after all these years of calling into the darkness, someone actually came. Through the communication link, they could see the alien who was speaking. Elder Zarkala was tall and graceful, with a shell-like covering that shimmered with rainbow colors. Her large compound eyes were leaking what looked like crystalline tears that caught the light of her dying star. "We came," Nam replied simply, "and we're going to take you home." The rescue operation began immediately. Engineer Oh Dong-yuk, the great-grandson of the man who had helped design the original fleet, found himself working side by side with alien technicians for the first time in human history. The Kethmori were unlike anything humans had imagined. They were tall and elegant, with shimmering shell-like skin that changed colors based on their emotions, and large compound eyes that seemed to see everything at once. The first challenge was simply figuring out how to move 800,000 aliens from their dying stations to the human ships. The Kethmori breathed the same air as humans, but they needed different food and their bodies were much more fragile. It's even worse. Their 3 remaining stations were falling apart from centuries of radiation damage. "We need to work fast," Oh Dong-yuk told his human crew as they prepared the transfer equipment. That star could send out another deadly flare at any moment. What surprised him most was how the Kethmori worked together. When humans faced a problem, they usually argued about the best solution until someone made a decision. The aliens were completely different. They would stand in groups, their shells flashing different colors, and somehow reach agreement without anyone giving orders. Dr. Kim Suyang was amazed by the alien technology. The Kethmori had computers that were actually alive, growing like plants but thinking like machines. Their power systems could turn any organic material into energy, even dead leaves or food scraps. This could solve Earth's energy problems. Forever, she told Admiral Nam excitedly. But the humans had things to teach the aliens too. The Kethmori had never learned to build things quickly. Everything they made was beautiful and perfect, but it took them years to construct even simple. Buildings. Human engineers showed them how to build modular structures that could be assembled in days instead of years. Elder Zarkala was the oldest of the Kethmori survivors, and she had been alive when they first sent their distress signal centuries ago. She moved slowly through the human ships, her compound eyes wide with wonder as she saw the rescue fleet that had traveled across the galaxy. Just to save her people, the dying star behind them was getting more violent every day. Massive flares of burning gas shot out millions of kilometers into space, and the radiation was becoming deadly even at their safe distance. Admiral Nam knew they had to leave soon or risk losing both species. All Kethmori have been successfully transferred to human vessels, reported Communications Officer Bae Youngmi, who was now an old woman herself after being awakened for the rescue operation. The fleet is ready to depart. Nam looked back one last time at the Veltar system. The star that had once supported a thriving alien civilization was now a monster that would soon collapse into a white dwarf. In a few more years, there would be nothing left but a small, dead star surrounded by empty space. The combined fleet began its journey to Kepler-4 for 2b, a planet the humans had identified during their long voyage as perfect for colonization. It had breathable air, plenty of water, and continents large enough to support cities for both species. The journey would take only 5 years with their advanced engines. During the trip, humans and Kethmori learned to live together. The aliens were fascinated by human music, while humans loved the harmonic songs the Kethmori used to communicate emotions. Children from both species played together in the ship's recreation areas, learning each other's languages and customs. One day, Elder Zarkala approached Admiral Nam on the bridge. Her shell was glowing with colors that Dr. Su Yang's translation system identified as deep gratitude mixed with confusion. Admiral, the Elder said through the translation device, "I must understand something. Your people traveled across centuries. You risked everything. You gave up your own plans to expand into space. All of this for strangers you had never met. Why would you do such a thing?" Nam had thought about this question many times during the long rescue operation. He looked out at the stars streaming past their viewport, considering his words carefully. "Elder," he finally said, "when someone whispers for salvation across the darkness, decent people answer. It doesn't matter how far they have to travel, or what it costs them. It doesn't matter if the people asking for help are different from them. That's what makes us civilized. That's what makes us more than just animals fighting for survival." The Elder's shell shimmered with colors that meant understanding and deep respect. "Your species has taught us something important," she replied. "We always thought survival was about being strong enough to protect ourselves. But you have shown us that true strength comes from protecting others." 5 years later, the colony on New Veltar was thriving beyond anyone's dreams. Human cities grew alongside Kethmori, floating gardens that seemed to defy gravity. Children of both species played together under an alien sun, their laughter mixing with the musical communications of their alien friends. Dr. Kim Su Yang worked in a research station that combined human engineering with Kethmori biotechnology. Together, the two species were creating wonders that neither could have achieved alone. Buildings that grew like plants, computers that thought with living brains, and energy systems that could power entire cities using nothing but sunlight and soil. In the distance, the combined human Kethmori space fleet was preparing for their next mission. They had detected another distress signal from a system 40 light-years away, and two species who had learned the value of answering calls for help were already planning their response. The universe was vast and full of dangers, but it was also full of people calling out for salvation. And now, at least some of those calls would be answered.